everyone, and welcome to the first live webcast reunion of the daytime series Loving. I have some amazing cast members here that I want to introduce to you shortly. I'm your host, Peggy Ellis, and I'm co-hosting today with my partner in crime, Chris Marcantel, who many of you may remember is also the bad boy Curtis Alden from the show. Say hello, Chris.
Hi, everybody. I'm here at the Alden Mansion with a amazing crew, the best crew in daytime, and yeah, not so much. I'm here in my home studio, and I'm going to be pressing the buttons, so I'm going to turn this back to Peggy, and I'll check in from time to time, so have fun.
All right. Well, with everybody sheltering in place with either themselves or with other family members, the Loving cast thought it would be fun to connect with some of their loving family members. So today we're going to do that with you. Before we get started, though, we have a super fan we need to introduce. Her name is Tricia Shatney. Say hi, Tricia.
Thanks, Peggy. Hey, everyone. I'm super excited to be asked to be part of this webcast. I watched the entire run of Loving, and it humbles me to be among all you wonderful, talented actors. I loved every one of you and every one of your characters.
Tricia started watching Loving at age 12, beginning with the pilot episode. So she truly is a super fan and has had an awful lot to do with us all coming together and making this possible. So thank you very much. And we'll be talking to her in just a little bit. Now, to get things started, I want to bring in our first actress today. Please welcome Miss Jennifer Ashe. Hi, Jenny.
Hello there. Hi, everyone. And I'm so thrilled to be here. Thank you, Chris and Peggy and Tricia, for getting this together. I was Lily Slater. I was part of the original cast, part of the original kids cast with Chris and Susan and Lauren Marie and Perry. I am sheltering in place in Los Angeles. And what have I been up to? A lot of what I've been up to is theater. It is my first love. And actually, I had my whole year planned. I had 3 productions right in a row, starting in March with a Female Playwrights Festival. And now we have coronavirus and it's all done. So, to try to help keep all our creative juices flowing and to support the community, we are now doing Zoom play readings that help support both playwrights and actors in need. That's me.
That's awesome. Wow, that's great. And it is, I know a lot of people are probably experiencing the same thing with what's going on with the performance stuff, but thank you so much. And next up, we have Noelle Beck.
First day of work playing Tricia Alden was my 17th birthday. So that happened to be the best birthday present I ever got and probably will ever get. I'm happily married. I have a huge family and 2 adorable grandsons that I love spending time with. And I am here coming to you from beautiful Miami Beach.
Miami Beach, nice. And Ms. Pamela Bowen, hello, my dear.
Hello there. Well, I'm sheltering in place in hot Texas. I just moved here from New York, where I lived for a couple of years recently. But my mom just passed, so I'm here to help my dad. And since Loving, I left New York and went out to LA and did a few series and guest spots and Days of Our Lives, as well as Loving. And now I am just taking it easy and hoping to see my wonderful son soon, who's also in LA.
Oh, nice. And he's an amazing musician, is he not?
He's trying.
Betsy Burr.
I'm Elizabeth Burr. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. It's so funny when Pam said she went out to LA after Loving, which I did too, which I guess we called it leaving. We were both on Days of Our Lives together and decided that the soaps could only hire us if we came together as a package. Because first we were Loving and then we were on Days. I'm sheltering in place in lovely, beautiful Reseda in the Valley. Totally awesome. I'm just so happy to be part of this. Yeah, lots of theater and movies and stuff in between and other careers, and lovely to catch up with everyone. Thank you so much for putting this together.
Awesome. Next on the docket is Miss Patty Lotz.
I'm sheltering in place in Santa Monica, a really horrible place to be stuck. Loving was my first acting job. I was, believe it or not, around 29, which is crazy to start acting at, that's old, especially, it's just old for a woman, right? but that was pretty cool and pretty wild. I've had an interesting career. I did radio. I was a wrestler in Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling and a news anchor. How many people can say that? Wrestling and a news anchor. But anyway, sheltering in place, not married, no kids, love animals, cats, dogs, horses, whatever. So I'm so happy to be here with all of you.
Awesome. Our resident funny lady down there in the braids, Ms. Laura Marie Taylor, you're next on the docket.
Oh, I am. Oh, okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Lauren Marie Taylor, original cast member. I played Stacy Donovan Forbes on the show for ever, I guess, until it switched over to the city. After leaving Loving, I was on Lifetime TV. I hosted a craft show. And then after that, I did a lot of commercials and was a director for our local theater here. And then since 2010, I have been teaching first grade in East Harlem. And then I helped open up the sister school in the Bronx. And that's what I've been doing. And most recently, my English Pointer Mix has been working on TV, and he's done a bunch of shows like Law and Order, Manifest, The Sinner. So go figure where everything goes, where life goes. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much that. And my family's great. I have 3 grown children. 1 is married. And we have 8 cats in the house right now and 2 dogs because a lot of people are sheltering in place here, which is a lot of fun.
Moving right along, we have Miss Christine Tudor. Hello.
Hi, hello everybody. Hello, my family, my friends, our fans, the loving fans. I'm calling in from Florida 20 years later, and I'm sheltering in place with my husband. I tried to get my hair. What are you doing? He's throwing, stop it. He's throwing shoulder pads at me.
This is Alaska, believe me.
I was come down here and say hello. This is my hunky-hulky, beautiful husband, Craig Newman. Now you need to go away and be quiet. He's my frustrated actor. He wants his 15 minutes of fame. Go away. Let's see. Oh my goodness. Post-Loving. Well, Craig and I decided to move out of Manhattan and to move into New Jersey because that's where his career was once I left the show. And we wanted to raise our beautiful daughter in a someplace other than Manhattan. So we went to beautiful suburban New Jersey, and I was supposed to take off for a year because she wasn't going to start school for a year. But my agents were not very happy with me. Don Buchwald and Associates were furious with me because my year turned into 20 years. But what I did all those years, well, I was in the PTO. I previewed and brought in assemblies for the school district that we were living in. I was on the PTO as an executive member. I developed the Curriculum Enhancement Committee, which started bringing assemblies into the schools, and we'd bring them in an assembly on whatever the kids were studying at that point. So we did everything grade level. I was a Girl Scout leader. I had a group of girls who went to the Gold. Our daughter being one of them. I was the town-wide service unit manager for Girl Scouts USA and a community advocate. And just prior to moving to Florida, I was asked to run for town council. Wow. But I declined. Can you imagine that? Me leading town. Have you ever been to one of those meetings? All people do is gripe, and tell you what's wrong. And you know me, I would have said, shut up and sit down. This is not a good look for you. So they'd have run me out of town on a burning cart. So that's what I've been doing. And now I might get involved with some community theater here in Florida too, as well. I'm also looking into with someone here in my community. She's a PhD in human development. And we're talking about creating an actor's workshop that has human development in mind, because a lot of what we do comes from where we've been. You know, we draw from that as actors. So we'll see, and I'll let everybody know if in fact I'm going to do that. Chris, we should do like an audition thing. We can go online and audition people and do scenes with people, and it would be really fun.
That sounds like a plan.
What?
That sounds good.
Yeah, good. Oh, and I'm happy to announce that we have a budding actress in our family. She is my great niece, and her name is Natalie. So a shout out to Natalie. And to her sisters, Lizzie and Grace, girls, go for your dreams. They are attainable. Go for it. That's me.
Oh, Susan Walters is next.
Oh, I'm Susan. I played Lorna Forbes. I was in the original cast with so many of these ladies, and it's fantastic to see you guys. I left Loving after about 3 years, and prior to leaving Loving, I married the second Curtis, not like the first Curtis, but the second Curtis, Linden Ashby, and we've been married for 34 years.
Wow.
Oh
my God.
We have 2 adult daughters who, one lives in Georgia, one lives in New York City, and we are currently in Malibu. So it's been a nice place to shelter in place. And we've just stayed busy. Right now, we just live in a little mobile home with 2 dogs and all our stuff still in storage, and it's a good life.
Awesome. That sounds great. And last but not least, Ms. Callan White.
Hi, everybody. I'm Callen. I'm sheltering in place in Asheville, North Carolina, sort of a little bit like Camelot in Paradise. When I left Loving, I followed my sister Betsy and Susan and Pam and Bri out to LA because I couldn't be without them. And I met my husband, and we've been married 27 years this year, and we have 2 kids. My son's a news producer for NBC in Raleigh-Durham, and my daughter will be graduating from Grinnell College this Monday, and I'll go out and pick her up. Being here, I've done several films. I was in Nicholas Sparks' The Choice. I just had a film come out called The Bruiser, which is at the Sarasota Film Festival, and The Taking. And I have also been able to work with NC Stage, which is a wonderful equity theater. And I've done some really fabulous roles. So I live here with my great husband, and we're doing great. And I also teach college. I teach at Morris Hill University, theater and communication.
Cool.
And my mom's calling at 94 years old.
Your mom's calling? Are you in trouble? Did you do something to get in trouble?
No, I've been trying to get her linked up to all of this on an iPad, but it's a little difficult. Hi, Mom.
One of the other squares up there in the corner is our friend, Miss Tricia Shatney, who is a Loving super fan, is the only thing we can say about her, and has a lot to do with kind of initiating this fan-based collective here.
I'd really love to have some fun and find out more about my favorite and our fan favorites, Corinth residents. So I'm going to start out with Susan Walters. The first question is for you. It's from Jason of West Yorkshire, England, and he would like to know, why did you leave Loving, and was it your decision?
Wow, I guess I can set the tone for this little Zoom thing right now. Yes, it was absolutely my decision. And it was my first real job, and I was on it for 3 years. I started when I was 19, and I had enough indications that I could continue on from there. I really loved working on the show, but I will say that what I went through on that show would not happen, God willing, to most young women, or even not young women, in today's workforce. And I had a really bully relationship from the producer. So when it came time for me to stay, I thought, instead of being yelled at and told I was stupid and unattractive and have to listen to that again,
Oh my God.
that I would ask him how much I was worth to him on the show. And at the time, I was probably being paid one of the lower salaries on the show. But I had a pretty popular character. So I asked him, and they offered me $40 more an episode, which would not have even put me up to the next person. So I said, thank you very much. Nice being here. I've loved my family, and I left. And I have to say, it's really great. My daughters are not in situations like that, or if it leans that way, there's a lot going on that will immediately protect them. And they have more of a voice. I didn't have a voice when I was that old. I had great people like these women supporting me, but there was nothing any of us could really do. So sorry to be so honest, but I just want to share that I'm really happy that things are different now. And I want young women and not so young women to stand up for themselves, because nobody needs to be treated like that on a job. And it's taken me decades to get past it. So I'm glad I've been successful, but I came by the support of the people who are also on this screen with me. Sorry.
No, it's a great answer. You're totally honest, and I absolutely love that. So, and I'm glad that you're doing well and everything.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so our next question is for Lauren Marie.
Oh, me?
Yep. It's from Robert in Chicago, Illinois. He's a huge fan.
Hi, Robert.
And he would like to know, being an original cast member, did they ask you to be part of the city, or did you already know your character was being killed?
Wow. Thanks for the question, and thanks everybody for joining us. Here's the weird thing, okay? Because I can read people pretty much. What happened was, because I'd been on the show for so long, I was used to the rhythms of how everything worked. And the rhythm of asking for vacation time with my family would go in a certain way. And that year, my last year, I asked for a week off to go down to Kiowa Island, South Carolina, for our big family vacation that we would do every year. And I got an immediate yes. And I came home and I said to my husband, John, I said, I'm out of there. He goes, what are you talking about? I said, they never approve vacations like that.
That's right. Oh, no.
So I knew, so when I was called down to the office at the end of one of the days, and it was about 8 weeks before the last day, they told me they wanted to give me the courtesy. They said, I had to keep it a secret, of course. Not so easy, but I had to keep it a secret from everybody. And I did. I kept it a secret all those years. All those weeks. And then when it was over, an odd thing happened. Linda Gottlieb, the producer who also produced Dirty Dancing, offered me, there was a little show that would happen at the end of each Loving episode after I was gone. And I would talk about the newly murdered characters or who's going to get murdered next. And it was interactive for back then. So that was kind of nice that they threw me that bone after it was over. But as soon as that vacation was approved, I knew it was going to happen. I just felt it. So I wasn't surprised, no.
Okay.
But I was surprised that Morgan Fairchild got my dressing room.
Oh, great answer, though. You're honest, and again, I love it, so.
Thanks.
Okay, next up is Noelle Beck. Your question comes from Christian in Paris, France, and I have to say, Christian is a friend of mine, and he is a huge fan of yours. Huge. He would like to know how your audition went and who was your audition partner.
Well, hello, Christian. I'm a huge fan of Paris. My audition was kind of crazy, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a similar Susan Walters story. So buckle your seats. I was in Baltimore at the time. I took the train up to New York. I was 16 years old. I walked onto my first television set. I had my scene with John Johnston, who ended up getting the role of Stephen Sawalski. He's a great guy, sweet. And, got home, waited to get the call, got the call from my agent, Noelle, they love you, but they want you to get a nose job. But they want to write it into the storyline. Because they don't like that little bump you have on your nose. They think it's not waspy enough. And they're going to have the character of Gwyneth, your mother, see you at boarding school and decide that you don't look aristocratic enough. So you'll come to work with the swollen nose, the bandages, the bruises, and everything. We're going to write this into the storyline, but we're going to give you this job. And my agent was just horrified. Susan Dee Ray, your agent. And I was like, oh my God, like somebody's give me a job on television, but they want me to go have plastic surgery. And I thought about it and I said, you know what? No, I'm not going to do it. Tell them no. And so she called them up and said, no. And they said, you know what? We'll take her anyway. And so here I am 30 some years later. I still have the same nose and I feel out of that. And actually my husband, Stephen Taslitz, says that I told him the story on our first date and he says that's why he married me.
Ah, that's so nice. That's such a great answer. Again, you guys are nailing this tonight. The next question is for Patty Lotz. Debbie from Salisbury, North Carolina. She wants to know, are you anything like your character Ava Rescott, and how much fun was it to play her?
Okay, the character was supposed to be like Flashdance. You know, I'm a maniac. Supposed to be a sexy construction worker from the wrong side of the tracks, which means white trash. So I got the job. And interestingly enough, I actually was a construction worker in my early 20s. I did some roofing and framing with my brother-in-law in Inglewood. And I did that for a while. So I really did have experience in that. Not that I needed it. Oh, here's a picture of me holding a very sexy hammer. And this is so old that it's actually like parchment now. You see that? See that? See that? Okay. Let's see. Also, oh yeah, my character. My character, because I didn't really have man prowess, I kind of thought, well, who's good with men? My sister Cindy. And I thought like a Scarlett O'Hara had this kind of thing. Not that many people wouldn't know who Scarlett O'Hara is these days because they probably hadn't seen Gone with the Wind. But I thought those are two like sexy ladies I can kind of emulate because I was not good at that. And I'd like to take the time now to apologize to Stacy for cheating on you with your man. I'm sorry. It was in the script. I couldn't help it.
Yeah, we know what really happened. You and I we were supposed to change the script because it was the 80s, so I get it.
Yeah, I was, I didn't expect much, and second best was okay for me. I was just poor white trash. But now I can apologize to you.
Okay, everybody loved Ava.
I'm the first Ava. There were two after that. But
they loved to hate Ava, I should say.
No, here's when the producers fired me, ladies. They said, this is your last day and you're leaving because we want people to hate you. When they don't hate you, they keep making excuses for you. And we don't like that. So you're not hateable enough. So you're fired and don't come back to get your stuff because we'll have Tommy Terzi bring it to you, which he did. God.
Wow.
Okay.
I love talking to you no matter what.
No matter what they say.
Right. Okay, so moving on. We'll move on. Callan White, you're next. Callan, your question comes from Virginia in Ontario, Canada. She wants to know, how did you feel about the storylines you were given, specifically the Vietnam vet storyline with James Kyburn?
Hi, Virginia. Thanks for asking the question. I loved the Vietnam story. It happened a week after I was on the set when I was just really getting used to being on TV. I had done a lot of stage work, so it was my first real television gig, and we went down to Washington with James. I think it was really important because at that time, that so many of our soldiers were coming home and not being appreciated. My brother fought in Vietnam, and I really admired the network for doing this story. The thing that was really impacting, and it's kind of choking me up right now, is when we got to the memorial. I hadn't seen the memorial, and you have this big black thing with names etched on it. And to get the feeling that all these people died and it was this dark thing just kind of was penetrating me until I looked at the reflection and there were all these little kids running. They were there, they were mirroring, so there was life in this. I thought James did a wonderful job. So I loved that they were really dealing with the PTSD. And I loved playing a working alcoholic because I think it's really prevalent in our society. And I remember one time, it was either Joe or the director had asked me, I was drunk, and I was supposed to go over and pick up Lauren, I think it was your baby. I think it was your baby. I was babysitting or something. And I said, no. It's the only time I think I ever said no to anybody. And it was big. And they said, why not? And I said, because Anne's smart enough and careful enough and loving enough that she knows she's had too much. She wouldn't pick up a child and put it in danger. And they argued with me for a while, and then they let me have my way. I wouldn't do it. I refused to do it. I did not like being 29 years old and being a grandmother, but I got to be with all of these incredible people who have become friends. So anytime I could be on camera with Sue and Bets and Lauren and everybody, it's thrilling.
Great. That's great. You guys are so close. I mean, even after all these years, you're still like this close-knit family.
Oh, man.
So great.
Yep.
Okay, so next is Betsy Burr. Betsy, your question is from Christine in Leesburg, Florida. She wants to know what inspired you to become an actress and how did you prepare for the role of Noreen, seeing that you were the second actress to play her?
Hi, Christine. Thank you for asking this. So I grew up in a theatrical family in New York City. My father was a Broadway and Shakespearean actor, and he did 26 Broadway plays by the time he had died. So I was kind of raised like that, and I never really questioned that I would be an actor. And I'm sorry, what was the second part of the question?
How did you prepare for the role of Noreen? Because you were the second one to play her.
And the wonderful Marilyn McIntyre played her first. And I believe we were both fired by Joe rather suddenly. So I didn't prepare at all, actually. I first was called in to audition for Cherie, who was Trailer Park Trash. And I auditioned like this. And then I got a call back. So I went in to read that scene the next day with the producer whom I hadn't met before. And I started to read like this, and he got very angry and slammed the script down. He said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "You're reading the wrong part." And I said, "I'm sorry, I didn't know. I presumed I was called back for my audition from yesterday." And he was furious. I said, wait, it's okay. I'll be happy to read for the role. Let me take the material and go audition.
Jeez.
So I came back and I auditioned and I tested the next day and I went to work the following day. So I basically had next to no preparation whatsoever. And all I can say is that my character cried just about every day on the show.
Oh,
and I think that the initial setup prepared me to do that on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah. And as far as other preparation, I just really saw her as confused and not wanting to have divorced her husband. And that's what I focused on. So thank you for that excellent question.
Great. That's great. Okay. Pam Bowen, you are next. Pam, your question's from Sherry in Dayton, Ohio. How did you feel when you got the role of Colby, and why did you leave Loving?
Hello, Sherry from Ohio. Well, I was ecstatic because I was living in a little apartment and I had absolutely no money. And what happened with my role with Colby, I had auditioned for the role of Shayna originally, and I didn't get it. And I was just devastated. So about 2 months later, when I was on my last $10, and I'm not kidding, I was on my last $10, I got a call from ABC that they were writing me in on Loving. And so I had no idea about the character. I didn't know anything at all about why or what I was supposed to do. I just showed up on set, and they wrote Colby in, and I remember actually being terrified of being there because I was so in awe of all you wonderful women that were already on there. And I think it was probably one of the happiest days of my life when I got that role, because it was my first big role. Up to that point, I had only done commercials and plays and things like that. And it was sort of like, oh, the little girl from Texas makes it, in my hometown. So that was a lot of fun. Why did I leave? My contract was up and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I didn't really have a choice because Joe let me know that I was not going to be back on the show. And I don't know about you guys, but from what I understand, and I didn't realize this at the time, he scared the bejeebies out of me. He was formidable. He was intimidating. And I felt like he didn't like women. But
he's mean.
I don't know. But anyway, it was a sad decision that I had to leave. But at the same time, I went to LA, and Betsy and I ended up on days, and, you know, half of you girls were out there. And so came out there later. I have no regrets. I absolutely loved being on Loving, and all the tough times made me even tougher today.
Oh, that's great. I loved your story too, because I didn't know that about you going for the role of Shayna. So that's new to me. So that's great.
I have another little peep that I will share with you guys, because this might be interesting. It's probably rather stupid in a way, but when I went up for the role of Shayna, I had to audition. I was absolutely terrified to do a screen test. I'd never done a screen test. And I had to do the screen test with James Kybert. Now, this gorgeous, honking guy, and very deep voiced. And I'm like, oh, I've got to use my language. I have got to kiss this man. Now, all I could think about was I'm going to have to kiss him on stage, on screen. And so while we're rehearsing, I looked at him, and he probably doesn't even remember this. I said, I have a very strange request. Will you kiss me? And he looked at me and goes, what? I said, I have never done a screen test, and you're going to have to kiss me in this scene. And I'd rather get this over with now. So I'm just not surprised. And so he kissed me, and it took all the pressure off of the kiss for the actual screen test.
Oh, I love that story.
I wonder if he remembers that. I think I asked him once. I don't think he remembers. That shows how great it was, okay? He didn't remember.
Yeah, you don't know. He could be thinking about it. You don't know. Okay, so Jenny, you're next. Jennifer Ashe. Your question is from Alexa, and she lives in Syracuse, Italy, and Italy is a huge fan base over there. They love all of you and still do. So, Alexa would like to know, how hard was it emotionally to play a character with a sensitive storyline like Lily's?
Well, thank you, Alexa, for the question. And I'm so glad you guys are all such big fans over there. I do think we do need a second one of these just on Joe Stewart, just a little sidebar, because we all have stories.
Oh, yeah.
But when I first started, first of all, with the whole audition process, Lauren Marie and Susan and I, we were like auditioning round robin for a couple of days, because this was all putting together this original cast. And I actually was auditioning for the Lorna role as well. And so I was a little surprised when I got Lily, because she is, for those of you who were later in the show, she was sexually abused by her father. And this was the first time that they were dealing with father-daughter incest on television. And Loving was really trying in the beginning to do a lot of storylines, like the PTSD, like dealing with AIDS, and then like dealing with this. So what happened is the story started to unfold and started to hit the air. Women that I knew would come up to me and start telling me their story and start telling me what happened to them. I had my cross the hall neighbor tell me that she was so grateful that she had a son, because she thought she'd look at her husband differently if she had a daughter. And I was really young. I didn't know exactly how to handle this. And so I listened, and I really just tried to continue to stay open and to listen to the frustration, to the shame, to the anger. And I tried to bring that into the work. And one of the things that I was very upset at what Loving did, they wound up abruptly stopping the storyline. And I found out through Doug Marlin later, it was because they were just about to air something about Amelia at nighttime, starring Ted Danson. And they wanted to say it was the first time they ever dealt with father-daughter incest. So we'd already been dealing with it for months. And so they said, pull that storyline, never talk about it again. So in their rush to get rid of that storyline, my father was murdered, my mother went to prison, my boyfriend went to jail, and I went to a mental institution. So what that did was say, as soon as I said this out loud, those things started happening. So what it's saying is don't tell, don't speak out. And I felt very responsible for that storyline, and I felt really devastated by that outcome and how that happened. And, talking about getting past it. There are some things that happen on Loving that were grew us all up. Let's just say. And so yeah, that was mine.
Wow, you guys all have some pretty powerful storylines, though, and stories to share. Okay, so our last question for the fan submitted ones is for Christine Tudor. It's from Brian of Blue Jacket, Oklahoma. And this question was the most asked question as part of a survey among Loving fans. He wants to know, how did you feel about being the Corinth killer, and who was your favorite scene partner?
It was a double-edged sword playing the Corinth killer. I'd been clamoring with the producers for some time because I hadn't had a front burner storyline. And it turned out that this was it. Really? On the way out the door, I'll get my big storyline. But this is something that the fans won't know. I didn't know that I was the serial murderer until just before Curtis died. What was happening, because this storyline was so hot, they wanted to keep it under wraps. The writers were shredding their writers' outlines. The scripts were being shredded. We didn't get our scripts until the night before the air of a show, so that none of us would leak who the serial killer was. And what was happening is we get a call over the system after the end of the shoot day. Callan White, please come down to the production offices. And we all knew she was getting the word that she was dying tomorrow, though Callan didn't. So it was devastating. I mean, we all knew what that was. So finally, I had thought for the longest time, well, I'm not going to die. They're going to take me to the city. And I said to my husband, I'm too old to go to the city. They're taking all the kids who are under 30 to the city. But I thought, maybe I'm going to the city. I was called down to the office one day and everybody was like, oh, yeah, I know. I went down and they didn't tell me that I was going to be killed off tomorrow. They told me that I was the serial murderer. I was shocked. The worst part about it was I had to go back upstairs while my friends are telling me goodbye from the show. I know that I'm it, and I know who's dying next, and I know everything that's going to happen, and I can't tell anybody anything. That was really, really, really awkward. But can you imagine your scripts, for all of you, for my budding family actors out there, you don't get a script until the night you're going to shoot the thing. But that's how that all happened. Let's see, my favorite scene partner. Wow, that's a loaded question given present company. But I would have to say, sorry, Brian. I loved being the serial killer because it was a good storyline and a real opportunity for the final scenes to really act my fanny off. But it was the end of the show, and I was the person who, Gwyneth was the person who was responsible for jobs lost, and it just was not nice, but it was also nice. My favorite scene partner. Well, I'll get some I'll probably get some cat calls from the panel here when I say this, but truly and sincerely, I'd have to say it was Christopher Marcantel who played my son. And I will tell you why, Chris, but don't let it go to your head. He always knew what he was supposed to say, so he knew his lines. He always knew where he was supposed to stand when he was saying his lines, so he always knew his blocking. Very count-onable, but there are a gazillion ways you can deliver a line, and it'll mean a gazillion different things. And I never knew where he was going to go with any scene that I stepped into with him, which is actually really good feed, really good blood in a scene. When neither actor in the scene knows what the other one is really going to say or how they're going to say what they're going to say, it keeps you on your toes and keeps you alive, keeps the scene alive. So Christopher Marcantel, and I would be remiss if I did not mention working with Celeste Ho. The day that I was told, that I would have a storyline with her, we would be working together, was just breathtaking. I mean, for you younger people who don't know who she is, she had a career from somewhere in the 1930s, I believe, right up to 2012. She was in film, on stage, incredible on stage. And she came to our little loving family to play Isabel Alden once Augusta Dabney left the show. And by the way, Celeste was married to, oh my God, help me.
My dad, Wesley.
Wesley Addy, who played Cabot. So it was wonderful to get to see her in the wife situation when they were rehearsing and we were all rehearsing, and then turn on that. And I'll tell you something about Celeste that I admired so much. Honest to God, that woman did not move her baby finger if it didn't mean something. Mm-hmm. And to watch her work was extraordinary. So that was a real highlight for me. And she was my other scene partner. I always liken Christopher Marcantel to Michael Weatherly in their spontaneity, but Chris has a lot more talent. So, call me Michael.
I'm going to text Michael right now.
He'll call me.
You said that.
I would say that you said that.
Thank you, Christine.
I loved my years on Loving. I truly did. There must be something wrong with me because I've never had a problem with Joe Stewart. But just one more story, if I may. He actually directed my screen test. And I had no idea, he sometimes would direct. I had no idea he was the producer of the show. And like some of these other ladies, after he directed me, my delivery wasn't quite what he wanted it to be. And he yelled at me, about, I wasn't listening and what I had to do. And out of my mouth came, excuse me, I don't know who you're accustomed to directing, but that tact is not going to work with me. Now, obviously, I want to give you what you want because I'd like to have this job. So please explain to me again, and I will try again. And when I was told I had the role, and I had to go in and meet what our associate producer called our producer, when that door opened and it was Joe Stewart sitting behind the desk, and I realized the man I had put in his place was the producer of the show. And he said, don't worry about it. You got the job, because that's exactly what Gwyneth would have said. So it all worked out in the end. I loved my years on Loving. I loved my relationships with all of you. And I would do it again in a heartbeat.
I just gotta say something really quick, because I was on the show from day one until the end, which is a little crazy. Joe Stewart we had a fine relationship, we were okay. I was from the Bronx, and I think he recognized that whole, thing about me, about me. But I will say, after I had my first child, Katie, I was supposed to do a love scene with Perry Stevens. God rest his soul, I love you still. And he said to me, he called me in, and I had come back from maternity leave, and he said, when are we going to lose the baby belly? And I looked and I said, we're going to lose the baby belly when Perry Stevens loses his love handles.
Good for you.
Awesome. Chris, we have somebody, I think, that you're going to bring in.
Peggy.
Another Curtis.
It's the other one?
Linden Ashby the third.
It's great seeing you guys.
Where do you feel right now, Chris, while you get that thing going on?
Yeah, I'm going to put him on while you're doing that. So,
Linden, you are as handsome as ever.
You look great.
Thank you.
Hi.
Ah, look at this guy.
I know. Well, now I know which Curtis you really liked working with.
You didn't realize that you had an audience.
You're a little bit dead to me.
He's a killer.
That's right. You're the Corinth killer,
She was a killer.
and you stabbed me right in the heart.
Okay, wait. I have to say something about a James Kyberd story while he's fixing that. Because you know how you guys were talking about everybody came from the theater and it was round robin and how great James is. So my audition for A Loving, I had not come from the theater. I was a model. And I was only auditioning for Lorna because that was probably the only box they would try to put me in because I didn't say much. And James is playing the PTSD and he's crawling up and down the on all fours up and down the studio halls. And I'm like, oh my God, I hope I look okay. Like, and I had to bit and I was so worried about it. And I'm like, what is going on? And this guy's crawling and groaning. And I was sitting there, oh my God, I'm so out of my league right now. And it was crazy. I remember you guys from the audition, but I was like,
Susan Walters and I shared a dressing room.
Hey, everybody.
For the entire
Hey, everybody, I'm going to stop you for a second. This seems like a perfect time to segue into a little surprise that I've got for you. We've seen a lot of great actors come through the halls of Loving, all with their own styles and techniques. Well, one of those actors has sent us a special message from the future. Take a look.
What's going on? Up there.
Greetings, ladies of Loving. I am RU4, Real Artificial Intelligence Manbot. I was sent back in time for the year 2080 to bring you a message. I was programmed 60 years ago by the brilliant amateur scientist Bryan Cranston. The brilliant amateur scientist Bryan Cranston. The brilliant amateur scientist Bryan Cranston. My apologies for the pedestrian redundancy. I was programmed to say that 3 times. Although you face tremendous challenges during the pandemic, the good news is that you all made it through just fine, and even learned several critical lessons. The distinction between want and need, the realization that people are more important than material things, that time is your most valued commodity, and that Netflix is awesome. I discovered the bad news recently. What happened to your beloved medium of daytime television? It has all but become extinct. Extinct. Perhaps I should have waited 15 minutes after completely replacing my fluids before emerging from the cement casing of water. No matter. You retain all your memories of the halcyon days of old. I do not. I am only 6 months old. My memory is limited, but I do have all my teeth. One programming note is that it was installed by my creator, is that he will never forget the joy, togetherness, and love that he shared with all of you. I do not know why he programmed that into my circuit board. It is of no use to me. It is like giving a dolphin a baseball glove. The advancement of the human brain is more rational than your time. Now, in 2080, science always trumps politics. One last word: be kind, be smart, be patient, be compassionate, be happy. Goodbye.
Yeah,
Thanks, Brian. That was really something.
Wow.
He told me that he had that idea in a dream and wanted to share it with me.
So many fabulous actors.
So sweet. That's so sweet of him. Oh my
I
God.
wanted, Chris, did you get, we had a couple people from YouTube. We want to just bring in a couple
We're
people
going to
that wrote in there. And while he gets that person online, I can just share a couple other things that someone named Calderus said that Callen was the best Anne ever.
Oh, Penny Kilmer is a lovely actress, but thank you very, very, very much.
And Stephanie Darby wanted to say hi to Aunt Chris.
So who are we bringing in first?
You're bringing in Lorraine. Lorraine's ready for a question. You got to unmute her. There she is. Hi,
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Hi there.
Hi. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to join you all. This is great. So actually, my question is for you, Chris.
Oh, Lord.
I know that, you worked with Perry Stevens, who played Jack Forbes, and you guys were always kind of going at each other on set. So I was curious, what was your real life relationship off screen?
I can talk to that some.
Really? I hope it's the same way I remember it, because we got along great. Perry was a great guy.
Of you, Chris, and Perry, and in the park. We're out at carousing, and the two of you are just clowning around. That's pretty cute.
We did do a lot of carousing back in the day, but no, Perry was a great guy, and I really miss him. And he tried to play music with me occasionally. I reached a level of mediocrity on the guitar years ago and stayed there. And Perry was an awesome musician, and used to perform in clubs around town and in California. And we got back together again when we were in California, and then we lost touch when I came back to New York to do Loving again. But yeah, Perry was a great guy, and it was nothing like that relationship.
God rest his soul.
Thank you, Lorraine. So Chris,
Thank you.
Lorraine.
We should have wrote her name down. There's Amy. Do you have Amy in queue? She's in mute. Amy, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Oh, it is Amy. Yay.
All right, we got the right one. All right.
So I appeared on Loving from December of 1984 through January of 1986. I played Patty Davis, which was the character Tricia's best friend. So I had connected with Christine Tudor, and she said, oh my gosh, she said, wouldn't it be a hoot if we brought you in and you could say hi to Noelle? So hi, Noelle. And after I was on the show, I was married. I have 4 children. I have 3 grandchildren. But from that point on, I did community theater. Christine and I actually lived in neighboring towns, and we were both asked to participate in a career day together at the regional high school. And that's where we saw each other. And I just wanted to show probably my last major scene with Noelle and Christine. It was her debutante ball. And whenever Tricia needed her best friend Patty, there I was.
Well, thank you.
Hey,
look at that gold lame.
I got somebody else that's trying to get. I got somebody else that's trying to get on the Zoom call. Mr. Tommy Terzi.
All I can say is rubber chickens in windows of planes on the set. That's all I can say about Tommy.
What was his role? What was his? He was a crew guy. What was his job?
Nobody knows.
He was an electrician.
Nobody knows.
Nobody is really clear on what
He
Tommy
was an
did.
electrician and a stagehand. And I can tell you that he was definitely a frustrated actor.
when my father was murdered, right after the scene, he's laying dead on the ground, and they had a whole thing planned. So we knew it was coming, where the whole crew, led by Tommy Terzi, had a plastic bag over his head, because my father was named Garth Slater for Darth Vader. This is right after we shoot the scene. He comes in and they pick him up and they take John Cunningham out. It's all Tommy's idea.
Anybody who stood in Tommy's way and wouldn't cooperate and help him all the other stagehands, boy, did they hear about it.
Oh,
I want to say one thing, and that's that you guys look the same as when I first met you, all of you. I had a ball myself. The part is I got to make you laugh, but I got to sit back as the audience and watch me laugh.
Hey, Tommy, you made it all wonderful every day. You made it so much fun.
Thank you. Susan, you want to say something good about me?
Yes, I do. about you because you kept me going, my friend. I have to say thank you so much for being so kind to me those years. Making fun of how I spoke over the loudspeaker so that it would make me cry, so I'd feel bad about myself. And all it did was mad. And then Tommy's like, well, I won't repeat what you said, but you were right off camera, totally taking care of me. And I want to thank you for that. Thank you.
And Tommy, I want to thank you for bringing me my stuff when they fired me. Thank you.
Well,
They would let me back in the building.
I want you to thank you for putting your clothes in my room.
I'm going to mute you now, Tommy. Thank you very much for coming.
Goodbye. Paul.
So I think clearly we could all sit and have you guys talk for another 2 hours. I think that we've probably had enough conversation for today, but I think it's been amazing. And I think we've had a lot of people writing, and Tricia's already had some ideas for future programming, and we got some great ideas from people from the fans writing in. So I think we're going to be seeing you again, hopefully. If anybody on the YouTube side, if you want to see siblings or best friends, rivals, relationships, bad boys, there's a whole bunch of different combinations that several of you would be brought back in for, which I think would be awesome.
Susan, if you want to talk to Linden, I'm thinking about doing an all Curtis episode.
Now would just be the two of you.
Just the two of us. There's 5 of us, wasn't there?
That'd be great. Before we sign off, does anyone have any final words for our fans?
Well, I'd like to say God bless you all. You are all in my prayers. We will get through this together. I happen to be very proud for most of the folks who live in my country right now because we're doing a great job. Stay safe.
All right.
Shout out to all the healthcare workers too, because they
Absolutely
really deserve it.
Yeah.
All the first responders. Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful.
And the people who clean, and the people who sweep, the people who wash, and the people who care.
My sister works in a hospital in New Jersey, and her husband's a first responder, a fire chief. So God bless you all on the East Coast in that area. That is really tough, and we're praying for you.
All the people who work in the grocery stores, we're forgetting about them, and they are on the front lines too. And doctors, of course, which my husband is one of them. So be safe, everybody, please.
Yeah.
Thank you for those heartfelt words. Well, that's it for this evening. So before I go, I just want to say thank you so much, ladies, for stopping by. It was so good to see you and have this conversation. To the men who stopped by, thank you. And to Brian, what can I say? What a nice guy. And to our fans, we'll be back again. But in the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe on our YouTube page, and to like and follow us on our Facebook page, SHOWRUNNER Productions NYC, and also the Loving Fans Facebook page.
Till the next time, it's been amazing. I had a great time, and we thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
All right. Well, I guess that's it. So let's get everybody back here and say goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone.
Hello to
Bye,
New
everybody.
Jersey.
Thank you so much.